Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Brother Hush, bringing the Finer Life Show back at you. Listen, I want to introduce you all to a lovely soul who I have to say is really impacting the lives of military families, impacting the lives of veterans, and really just out there doing it. Big mover and shaker. All right. And you wear two hats, Bessa, right? You the CEO and executive director, right?
Yeah, but it's not as cool as Brother Hush. I don't have anything that cool, but yes, I do
See,
all the things.
she's starting off on the right foot. That's how we like to start the Final Life Show. Give it up, everybody, for Besa Now it's Pinchotti, or how do you want the
You got it. Perfect.
Besa Pinchotti, right? I'm not
Yep.
going to give it an Italian, Besa Pinchotti. That's the
You
best way
can
I'm
do
gonna
it
just put
that
it. All
way.
right. So Besa Pinchotti, you are the CEO and executive director for the National Military Family Association, or as everybody likes to say, NMFA. NMFA. I don't know. Maybe I just came in nymph, and basically, we're gonna get into the National Military Family Association and what you do. How you basically you went from the communications director to the CEO. That's
Yes.
crazy. That is a crazy journey. And a little bit about Bessa. I'm gonna ask her. She used to be an anchor back in the day. Whoop whoop. Used to be up on TV. But listen, let's get into it. Bessa, yeah, you are an anchor. How did you go from being an anchor into marketing into like your current position? Like I know your anchor journey started like in the early 2000s.
Mhm.
So TV marketing, where you're at now, like encapsulated.
Yeah, it's been a very non-linear journey. I can tell you that it was never really the plan. And I just feel like it is such a privilege to be here. I went to the University of Texas at Austin. I majored in broadcast journalism, and I really wanted to tell people stories. My family is from Kosovo on my dad's side, and I spent all of my summers there growing up. And I had just seen the war that happened there, and I was interning in a newsroom, and I really started to appreciate journalists in a whole different way, and I knew I wanted to do that too. So I started off reporting and anchoring. I started actually editing tapes overnight. I don't even think they use tapes anymore. I think everything's digital now, but I used to work from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. in Austin, Texas, editing tapes, trying to stay awake. And I did that and then got my foot in the door there to move into an anchor and reporter position out in West Texas and got some experience there. And the way that the news industry works is actually similar to military because you just go where the job tells you to go. So I found myself all of a sudden in Jacksonville, North Carolina, sight unseen. I had never been there. In fact, I'd never really even heard of Jacksonville, North Carolina. So I moved to this area to work for the ABC affiliate that covered the eastern part of the state. It also happens to be home of the biggest Marine Corps base on the East Coast, Camp Lejeune. I didn't even know what a Marine was when I moved there. Like I said, my dad was an immigrant. I thought it was all the same. And so I got a crash course because not only was I in a Marine community, but it was the start of the Iraq War. And so I spent a lot of time knocking on doors of people whose spouse was just killed in action. I spent a lot of time talking to people about what was going on in the community. There were a couple of families that I reported on that really drive me to this day. Their story is really what made me want to be a part of that community, even more than my own husband that I met there. It was their stories that really drive me. But while I was in North Carolina, I did meet a handsome young Marine named Dave, and I went against everyone's advice, which was whatever you do, don't marry a Marine. That was the advice I got. Went ahead and did it anyway. So Dave and I got married. We were living that Marine life. And then he was medically retired from the Marine Corps, had a spinal surgery, had an ankle surgery, so many different things. Sometimes the military is really hard on your body, as I know that a lot of your listeners would know. And so when he decided to get out of the Marine Corps, I decided let's try something new here too, because both of those careers are really hard on family, and we were starting our family. We now have 3 kids. So during that time, I said, what can I do that's a family-friendly career? We'd moved to DC to be closer to family. This is where he's from. And I ended up working at a tech firm doing PR. The company said, what do you know about marketing? I said, nothing. I can learn. I learn really fast. They said, great. Why don't you do marketing too? So I spent about 5 years doing PR and marketing at a tech firm. Went on a sabbatical, because that's what they do at tech firms. You know, they have all those crazy benefits you hear about at Google and Facebook and all of that. So I went on a sabbatical. And when I went on that sabbatical, I really, instead of coming back more excited about work, I decided I needed more meaning in my life than what I was getting at that current job and working in corporate America. And I applied at National Military Family Association as the communications director. That was the position that was open. I went there and heard the executive director who was there then talking to a reporter from USA Today, and I was listening, waiting on my interview, and I just thought, this is where I want to be. She is making things happen for a community that I really care about. And so over the years, as things change, as families move, as people find different jobs, I was always that person that would fill in. Can you work in the programs department? Absolutely. Can you work in development? Absolutely. And so when the opportunity came to run the organization, I was ready because I had had all of these experience points along the way. And I really feel like I know and I understand the community, both from my own experience, from the reporting, and then also from years here working at National Military Family Association.
So I have to ask this question. Being a military spouse, what are some of the challenges that you encountered, just trying to balance, being a mother, being a spouse, working, essentially with other military families? What are some of the challenges that you have faced, I guess, in the past couple of years, and how did you overcome them? You just give me 1, 2, 3, the more the better. There are
Yeah,
spouses that are
sure.
listening in as well.
Absolutely. So spouses know that one of the biggest challenges is career. And then the other biggest one is making sure that your family is settled through all of those military moves, right? So I jumped in at close to the end of my husband's military career. So we went through that thing that is known as transition. And I know that your listeners know that well. It's when you leave the military and you go off into the world and try to do the new thing. Well, it's hard to figure out what that new thing is. And interestingly, when we went through that transition, because I was not part of National Military Family Association, I was just reporting and I didn't really understand all of the different help that was out there. I didn't even realize that the hard time that we were having had to do with his military service. I just thought, hey, we're a family having a hard time. Looking back on it now, I mean, we did that thing where we were living with the in-laws, and neither one of us had a job. So he was working for his dad for a while, and then he tried another job, and I was at home with a baby, just applying to any and everything. I got that tech job on Craigslist. I mean, I hear military spouses all the time talk about how tough it is to do that over and over again. I did it once and I felt it. And so I know that these families that we serve are feeling that every 2 to 3 years.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, what are some tips? I love tips and tricks. That's my thing. There's a spouse right now, whose significant other is transitioning. There's somebody right now who may not, not even a spouse. You may be dating, and that other individual is transitioning. What have you learned about the transition process overall? And now let's segue into, National Military Family Association, because you enhance the quality of life, for military families and veterans and such, transition. What are some of the things that you've picked up on that are like prevalent today, and because let me put this into context. Transition has evolved over the years.
Mhm.
Operation Iraqi Freedom, Desert Storm, it's evolved. So what is more prevalent today in the transition period that is happening today that did not happen during your transition? And how does NMFA combat that or address the issue?
Sure. I'll tell you what families are going through now is different because we were in war for 20 years. That's 20 years of deployments, 20 years of moves, 20 years of uncertainty. And that uncertainty on a day-to-day basis takes such a toll on the family. Before I get into the programs and services that we offer, what I will say is that this community is so strong and has your back every step of the way. And as far as transition out of the military, there's transitions throughout a military career. There's the transition out. The community doesn't leave you. And that is one of the things that I have found to be so beautiful. I was right in the military community in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And then I went off and I did this tech job. And I don't think I heard much about the military except what I saw on the news for years. And then I was welcomed back with open arms. This community is always here for you. What we do at National Military Family Association is we strengthen those family bonds. We help the family to be ready for what's next. And sometimes that what's next is a deployment. Sometimes it's a PCS. Sometimes it's getting out of the military altogether. And we do that with each member of the military family. We have Operation Purple camps that happen all around the country. Those are camps where military kids go and spend a week for free around other military kids. We also have those virtually through something called Operation Purple at Home. And those are hugely important because we know that loneliness is really tough and it also leads to low mental well-being. And so when you're doing that over and over and over again, it's really hard on kids. We also have Operation Purple for families. It could be a family dealing with a deployment. It could be a family who's dealing with wounds, illnesses, or injuries. And now we've started something new, which is Operation Purple for teens and alumni. And that is hugely important. We recently did a whole bunch of research on military teens and the things that they've been going through. And we found out that they're having a really tough time and they need our attention. And also, so many of them want to join the military in the future. So it is absolutely our obligation to support them because number one, we love them. They're our military teens. But number two, these are the force of our future. And then another thing that we do is we have a scholarship program for military spouses. This is so important because when we talk about transitioning out of the military, a lot of times it's the spouse who's holding it down at home. They're the ones who are still bringing in the paycheck, trying to maintain the career, trying to make sure that everything is steady for all the members of the family, while that service member tries to find his or her way in life outside of the military. So that's huge. And then one of the most important things we do here at NMFA, and we've been doing this since 1969, we do a lot of advocacy for families on the Hill. A lot of what military families have and rely on benefits wise come from us being that voice on Capitol Hill. When we started, it was a group of military spouses. They were sitting around a kitchen table and they were really upset because it was the Vietnam War. Service members were dying and their spouses and kids at home had nothing. They were just left high and dry. So these women marched up to the Capitol and they went door to door, and that's how the survivor benefit plan started. And I think probably everyone in the military knows what that is, because that's the benefit that you can leave your family if something happens to you. So it's hugely important. And we do that advocacy all the time, whether it's your pay, whether it's your TRICARE, just all of the benefits and the things that you need to live a happy, healthy military life.
So I do have to ask, if you could share a story from all of these programs, one that really impacted you, and it really pushed you to want to do more, for the military community, because, definitely National Military Family Association, you have so much going on. At the end, I always tell the guests to push the website. It comes up on the
Yes.
screen. People are going to see it. But what was one story that really sticks out to you and just really impacted you and what you do?
Yes, I was at one of our Operation Purple programs, and it was at a campsite. I was out in West Virginia, and I saw this little girl sitting there, and she was so just cute and quiet. She had these chubby little cheeks, and she was quiet, and she wasn't really talking to anyone. So I asked her name. She said Ziani. I said, "How old are you?" She said 10. And I said, "Wait, I have a 10-year-old, and her name starts with a Z too. My daughter's name is Zana." And so we bonded over that right away. And then her mom came over and she was quiet too. And there was something about these two that just drew me in. So I spent a lot of that weekend hanging out with them. They went kayaking, they were doing ropes courses. And afterward, I started talking to them and I said, y'all are so quiet, but I feel like you're having a good time, but I want to know what's going through your head. And the mom started crying and she said, "Ziani is my middle of 7 children. And this is the first time that she and I have ever been alone." She said, "My husband has some pretty severe PTSD and other injuries from Iraq and Afghanistan. And we spend a lot of our time caring for him. And a lot of times it's Ziani's responsibility to take care of her younger siblings, to keep the kids quiet if my husband's not doing okay and he's dealing with his PTSD." So this little girl who was just 10 years old has so much responsibility that she is dealing with on a daily basis. And this was her first time to be able to go and do something fun that was just for her. And she was there with her mom. And that is what Operation Purple is all about. And I think of her really often, when you're doing the work part of work, when you're just doing the grind and you're working on your computer and you're doing the calls and you're fundraising, all the things. I think sometimes you forget what it's all about, but I always remember Ziani, and I actually have seen her a few times over the years. And when we are introducing new programming, I'll call her mom and I'll talk to her mom and I'll talk to her and say, "How do you think this might work? Do you think this would help someone like you?" And they've given us some fantastic ideas. So I would say Ziani is who I remember.
Wow, that's awesome. So I have to ask you, as a CEO, organizational leadership is very important. Uh, I think it definitely helps when you have done so much of the ground level work, and when you get to that managerial level, you kind of understand, the human energy and the dichotomy of the whole entire organization. Um, how do you do it? How do you how do you balance being a CEO, like executive director of this massive organization? What have been some of the challenges and how have you overcome them?
I think I could only do it with this incredible team that I'm surrounded with. I don't know what I would do without them. I feel like I grew up with some of them. Our development director now, she started with me in the communications department, and now she's responsible for raising all the money for all of our programs in the organization. That's huge. Of anywhere I've ever worked, I've loved a lot of jobs. Being a reporter was great. Being an anchor was great. I always like to learn from different experiences, but I've never been anywhere where every single person is there for the true right reason. And I think that the hardest part is that you're never done. So I'm always working, and my kids will say, "Are you done with work? Are you done, Mom?" And I'll say, I always tell them I'm never done, but I can shut my computer now and we can have our family time, because I'm really never done. And my oldest daughter, who's 15 now, she's actually volunteering with us this summer, and she's helping us with some camp program evaluation. And then my middle will always find the military kid at her school and come tell me how she became friends with them. So it's definitely become a family business where it touches each of our lives. And so I would say that I couldn't do it without my family and also the National Military Family Association family.
Awesome. So I want to ask you this question, why do you believe some people become more successful than others working within an organization. And the reason why I want to touch upon that is because I love success tips. Like I said, I love giving knowledge. It's all about knowledge, you know.
Mhm.
And really, just looking at your journey, I'm not going to tell you pat yourself on the back because you dust your shoulders off. You top dog. But why do some people succeed more than others? And I want to give the viewers insight because you are a CEO, you're executive, you're at the top. What qualities are you looking for in employees, volunteers? How can people stand out?
Sure. I think passion comes through, drive comes through. I think teachability is really important, being willing to learn. And that goes both ways. I learn from my team all the time. And I definitely lead with heart, but I also have a lot of really competitive drive in me. And I'm going to go back to my days in journalism. So I went to the University of Texas. That's 50,000 people. Well, each semester in broadcast journalism, they graduate 12. So 12, that's it. And it's really tough to get in there. You have to already have internships at TV stations, radio stations, which are hard to come by. You have to take a current events test. You have to interview in front of a panel. And usually you don't make it the first time. I didn't make it the first time. I had to try again the second time. And then you're trying to get a job. There's only so many TV stations, and it's a really awesome job to have that a lot of people want. So I remember when I was trying to get my first TV job on air, I applied to more than 150 different places, and I didn't hear back from any of them. And so then I took that editing job that I talked about earlier, and I started working my way in that way through those connections. And I can tell you that in the beginning, I was frustrated. I was like, why do they make you go through all of this to get this degree? And why do they make you go through all of this to maybe never even get a job? And then once I got that journalism job, I understood, because that's how it is every day. It's people saying no to you. It's people shutting the door on you. It's people saying, don't come back here. And you have to have that drive to continue. You also have to be creative. If this person doesn't want to talk to you, then you talk to that person. If you can't tell a story this way, then you tell it that way. And this is something that I think is really important, even now as we're trying to get things done, whether it's advocacy, finding funding for a new program. People are going to tell you no. There are other people who want to do things that seem like they're the same as you, but they're different than you. And you just have to work around in all of the ways that you can if you believe in something until you get to where you want to be.
That's some good stuff. Keep driving on.
Yep.
Um, so I want to get into, definitely the military spouse scholarship. I really want to kind of hone in on that. You know, uh, how do spouses apply? What is NMFA looking for? Everybody can read a website, but I just
Yes.
rather it come from
Yes.
the top of the food chain. Just let it. This is what because I mean, I have to just put it out there. When you have a spouse, definitely for veterans and for military service members, it's all about the post 9/11 GI Bill. And when you exhaust it and you're kind of like looking like, babes, yeah, it's gone. There's nothing else. You know? So I feel like this is such a big resource and a lot of people should really know about it, talk about it. And how do they
Yes.
get in? What are you looking for?
So obviously, like you said, the applications on our website, but the things that are not on our website are, the secret sauce that you're talking about. And there are the questions that we ask that are the general questions about you and your family, where you can check a box or click a box and tell us more about yourself. That's important. But the meat of it is that part where you have the one essay question. It's one question at the end. And I believe this year, I don't know the wording, but it's pretty similar year to year because it's about why you? Tell me about you and your military life and why this is important to you. That is when you get to lay it out there and tell us who you are and what this would do for you. So all of the parts of the application are important, but I would absolutely focus mostly on that part. I want to say the other cool thing about our scholarship, which is not the GI Bill and it's not all of these other things, is it doesn't have to be for a bachelor's degree. It can be for a master's, it can be for a PhD, but it can even be for a license, a certification. It can be, if you want to be a pet groomer, you can apply. If you want to be a jewelry maker and you need to take a class for that, or it can even be if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to start your own business. We do a lot of supportive military spouse entrepreneurs. So our scholarship is a great place to go and, work on your dreams. We used to do them once a year, twice a year. Now it's a year-round rolling application because we were listening to military spouses and they were telling us, hey, sometimes we move in April and sometimes we move in September and sometimes we don't get our kids settled until October. We need to do this when we can do this. And so now it's year-round and it's a rolling application.
You heard it there, folks. That's what I'm gonna say. You heard it there. I'm gonna leave it and Besa drop the mic. Boop. I want to talk about nonprofits. Mu Beta Phi Military Fraternity Incorporated. We're a nonprofit. We are a professional fraternity as well for service members and veterans. It's all about professional development with us. Really, how can nonprofits assist military families, in your opinion? You're where you're at. You're kind of surveying the land. You have your own partners. Really, at the crux of it, in your opinion, how can nonprofits really support military families?
I think the way that nonprofits in this, we call it MSOVSO, Military Service Organization, Veteran Service Organization, in this space, I think what we need to do is to support and respect each other. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of us. There's so many nonprofits. Some do this, some do that, some it almost feels like they do the same thing. But I've been talking to a lot of my CEO peers, and what we've been saying is, let's stop trying to do the same thing and let the person who's doing it really well do that thing, and then let's send families there to get that support. So if we can focus on those things that we know are important, and then also be really aware of our surroundings and be able to send someone somewhere else to get that support that they might need, it is, I think, the best thing that we can do for families, because families don't care where they get the support they need. They just want to get it. And so they want to know who are the good partners. And if they come to us with a problem that isn't in our wheelhouse, we will send them to someone who can support them.
That's right. Bring everybody together, Besa. Just bring them. Just marry everybody.
Right.
We are. I can't sing the rest because then YouTube will hit me up and be like, "You cannot sing." Facebook, you cannot. Anytime I post on social media, you do not have the licensing rights. So, I mean, really, National Military Family Association is near and dear to your heart. Where's your journey? I like asking this question, and this is years down the line. Where do you envision yourself going? What's your passion? What drives you? Where do you want to go? And where do you want to take it?
That is the hardest question. And of course you asked it because you're good at this. I don't know. Is that a bad answer? I know you're supposed to have a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan, but I actually really don't, because I feel so happy and that there's a lot of work to do, that I'm very focused on that work. And the way I've always done my career is that I stay open to opportunities, but also work really hard on what I'm doing right now. And in the past, I've always found it's time to leave when I feel like I've given what I need to give this and it's time to move to the next thing. I don't feel that yet. I still feel a love and a passion, and that there's so much more that I want to do. So I don't know the answer. But now I'll be thinking about it again all night, which I do sometimes.
I cheated, everybody. I cheated. Yes. Yes. So let's talk about National Military Family Association. How can people support? Where can people go? So let's do this in this order. Uh don't put out the website yet. How can people support? What can we do to, help grow the organization, and then put out the website? Bam, bam.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready. We are very interested in partnerships that would support military families. So if you are part of an organization, like that's what you're doing right now, you're spreading the word about our great work, and we'll be sharing this podcast and telling our community about you as well. So I would say share. And then also, we really do need donations to National Military Family Association. We right now are only able to serve half of the kids that apply to Operation Purple Camp each year. And we are only able to serve 10% of those who apply for scholarships. We would love for that number to be huge. Of course, the number of applicants also increases. So we're always looking for great partners. Some of our best ones are Fisher House, who supports our military spouse scholarship program, Wounded Warrior Project, who supports our Operation Purple program. So we're looking for funding to support more families, and then partnerships that can do more great work as well.
All right. And now I'm going to put out the website, and I'm going to just hush up. Go ahead.
Militaryfamily.org. So it's singular, militaryfamily.org, and it's singular because we are all one family.
All right. It just flashed on the screen. And you know what? I put it up there, and everybody needs to go on right now. And I have to say that, once people go on the website and they really see what the National Military Family Association is doing, and you hit that page, of course you have the about the organization. But when you get to like the info and the resources part, you got like adoption, childcare, deployment, kids education, pay family leave, like it's a relocation, like it's a lot. So if you need the resource, everybody, and you need that information, yeah, I'm telling you right now, it's a good read for a good afternoon. Well, this is the shameless promotion time. I mean, people watch us, they know where to find us, but I'm going to have to put the website out there, www.mbphikings2017 MB5 MBP www.mbphikings2017.org. When you get tongue tied and you're like, did I really phonetically spell it out? It's right there on the screen. Everybody, you can see it. Just go onto the website, all right, and check out the episodes. Listen to them back to back. Besa, you really dropped some jewels. Okay, I really believe that there is a spouse out there. There's a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a partner that is watching this right now, and they're just scared. They're scared of that opportunity that may never come. But you're living proof. From the newsroom to the boardroom. From started front and bottom, now you're here. All right.
New tagline.
The new tagline. All right. And any imparting words to our viewers?
No, I just want to say thank you, Brother Hush. You bring so much energy to your podcast, to your organization. I was one of those people who was back to back listening to all of the episodes. So definitely do that because they are absolutely worth a listen.
All right. Well, listen, I got the stamp of approval from Besa. Listen, everybody, tune in to next time. This is the PHIner Life Show. I'm your brother Hush. All right. Peace out.